All righty, folks. Welcome back to the Mushing Alaska podcast. We're your host, Brandon and Sean. Sean coming in hot there. Good God. And super excited as always to be giving you our next episode. And so before we get into our interview with Gabe Dunham, we are gonna go through a couple little things that have been in the been, I guess, going around town. I don't know what's the latest news in Mushing. But before we get there, Sean, you're about to take off to Mexico. Tell us a little bit about this.
I'm going with some buddies to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, and we're gonna have some tequila and hang out on the beach and get some sun. You know, it's like 35 degrees right now, so I'm pretty stoked. Get up there, it'd be like 80 degrees. But there's also a Category 2 hurricane coming in, so Mom be worried about that. She sent me a text today, like, you got to check with the hurricane authorities, you know. So I'm excited, dude. I would love a good hurricane to the face, you know, and surf should be good. You know, if there's a hurricane, it's probably safe. And, I'm excited to see a tropical storm, you know.
I think you'll be fine, man. I was in traveling for work earlier this summer. I was in Savannah and I had all this work lined up, and this hurricane was coming to Savannah and everything ended up shutting down. And then by the time the hurricane got to Savannah, it was just like a tropical storm. It wasn't even anything to worry about. So,
but with Georgia, dude, it's always like there's a Category 23 hurricane coming to Atlanta, and then like it hits Florida and immediately just destroys Florida, and then gets to Georgia and is like kind of mostly fine, you know.
I would say 9 times out of 10. There's always like that one where we get fucked. But anyways, dude, man, enjoy your trip, man. You're so full of adventure. And as your older brother who has much more roots tied down to where I am right now, I'm happy that you get to enjoy the things that I don't get to do right now.
You know, you may think that I'm just living some grandiose life of adventure, but it's not. That's just what I have. That's what it just perceives. You perceive it at, but it's day to day. It's pretty regular. So, you know, it'll be exciting to go and be and do a vacation. Like, I don't know, you did a friend's vacation to Jamaica. You know, I haven't done something like that since we got an Airbnb, you know, maybe like 4 years ago or something. So it'll be kind of me and you and the homies got that Airbnb in the mountains with the jacuzzi. Remember that? Anyways, whatever.
Let's not get lost.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, let's circle back around here. So first bit of news that Sean and I were talking about was the Ace race. And there was a sign up a couple weeks ago. And bam, just like that, in and out, maxed out. There are some racers on there that I'm excited to see, whether it's actually them or just their kennel. But I mean, there's a couple races we're going to talk about here, and they're all loaded. Some names that stand out, Jesse Holmes. We've had Lauro on, so shout out to Lauro. Let's see, Gabe Dunham. This episode will be Gabe. Jeff King represented twice. So I was going to ask you on that one, Sean, you think that's Jeff and Amanda, or you think it's someone else running it and Amanda? I assume no matter what, Amanda's running it.
Yeah, I would say that I would think that if Jeff's not on the runners, I would think he really wouldn't be on the runners. He was my experience with Jeff is that he would prefer to be, and the sidelines on the snow machine. You got a little less responsibility doing that. You can have a little bit more fun, and then I'm sure that they have, if they have any help, they'll do the second team. But I don't know, man. I mean, I don't work at Husky Homestead, so I don't really know. But yeah, that's cool that they'll get 2 dog teams out there. And I mean, this race is the first race of the year.
Brent's in it.
Yeah.
Emily Robinson is a name that, she's been doing a lot of junior races. I'm wondering if this is one of her first non-junior sides of a race, but that's a name that's familiar. The Kellys are
last
in it.
year she got like second place or something, or maybe she won. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yep.
She, there's going to be people in here that are going to try to win this thing, and but most of the people in this race are just getting. It's like a welcome to the racing season. Let's get our dogs used to how crazy a race can be, being surrounded by a bunch of other dogs and passing teams, and there's snow machines on the trail, and it's only 63 miles, but the end of the race is 63 miles from your truck. So you can only way to get back to your truck is to mush back. So they really are racing 63 miles, but then they mush the same distance back. So they're all going to be doing almost 130 miles out there. And some people will actually go out there. Someone like Brent, I remember one year he got out to the lodge and he's like, well, I came all the way here from like, it's like a 7-hour process to get to this race. And I'm going to do one like 6-hour run and then go back home. It's like, he's like, all right, I'm out there already. I'll just go out and use this trail to train my dogs on it somewhere new and get more than 60 miles on them. But it's also like a huge social event. And I mean, there's going to be some teams that happens every year where there's teams that will camp halfway on their run. They haven't run their dogs as many miles, right? So they're not like ready to do 63 straight. So a lot of times people will go run 30 miles, lay down a little straw, or if it's warm day, maybe just let them hang out for a couple hours and then go and run the next 30 miles. And so, there is a little bit of competitiveness in this. But it's just like, kind of like I think Gabe says it on this episode. She says like, it's good to have like a deadline. Like, well, my dogs better be ready to run 63 miles by December 9th.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just thinking about like, I'm pretty sure Jesse said that this is a race where he's just going to the race, but he's like the whole time his mindset is just about the Iditarod. So like he's going to go, he's going to have fun, but he's going to kind of run the race of more of like the speed that you would run the Iditarod, right?
Yeah, I don't remember what Jesse said. He has in years past fully led his team.
Full send. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I know that he has that mid-distance team that he can kind of open.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So maybe he is going to be up there. But this will also be likely for a lot of the teams, depending on how the winter goes. I might be wrong, but I would be betting that this is actually probably the first time a lot of these mushers will be using a sled this winter. Most of your training before then is probably on a snowmobile, as lower 48 people would say, snow machine, which Alaska say.
Don't start, Sean. I think
snowmobile is more accurate, dude. It's a more accurate description of what the device is. Anyways, they'll be doing that or haven't been on ATVs. So, people that are down farther south or even in Fairbanks, like they could not get that much snow and not be able to use the sled by December 9th. Like there's been years where I've been on a sled in Denali at, before Halloween. And there's been years where I didn't get on a sled until after Christmas. So that's kind of an element, getting all that sled equipment out and kind of seeing, it's not quite calibrated the first couple runs you take with your sled. So that's always kind of an element.
Nice. Good analysis there. I wouldn't have thought of something like that. The next bit of news that we were going to talk about, I say news like we're like some sort of news providers. We're not news providers, but we just want to talk about these things. That's all. We just like
tonight on Channel 2 Action News
brought to you. We just want to glaze over some of these topics. The next one though was the Cusco 300. I just got to give a shout out. Social media is on point with the K300. website. I'm looking at it right now. Like, well done. If there's anyone listening that's involved with the Cusco on that level, I want you to know that I really thoroughly appreciate the job that you guys are doing. And furthermore, just looking at the list of names. Oh my gosh, this is an exciting race. I mean, we can go down a little bit. I'll kind of gloss over it. You got Jess Kleka. I'm just gonna throw out. I gotta say this. She got a picture that includes her child, and as a parent, as a new parent in the last almost 2 years now. Damn, that baby's cute, man. Damn. Shout out to the baby.
Did you see the post that they put with like her quote on that Facebook post?
I don't think so. No.
Right now, if you just look, are you looking at the Cusco Facebook page?
No, I'm looking at the Cusco website.
I can pull it up, but it was basically said like there was a picture of Jessica with her like 2-year-old or 1-year-old, and they were like, she was like, just so everyone knows, my daughter is not the one participating in the race.
Yeah. I did see that actually. Hilarious. She'll be on the sled just as some support, right?
Yeah, she'll be at the start and the finish, I'm sure.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, Jessica grew up in Bethel, so it's a really special race for her and her family. And this race is it's just nothing against any of the other races, but it's just the best run, best funded, best organized sled dog race in Alaska.
And I think that the lineup literally the lineup proves that, like Pete Kaiser, Brent Sass, Sim Smith, Matt Thaler, Eddie Burke, Paige Drobny, Josh McNeil, Jeff Dieter. Like, I mean, literally, I keep pulling names up and, it's impressive. I'm also excited just in both the Ace race and the Cusco. There's some names that aren't on the Iditarod lineup that we've seen in years past that are in these races. So it's kind of nice to see some names that we're familiar with that maybe we won't see in the Iditarod this year, but we still get to see them out there doing some races. So,
yeah, this is a great race for someone like, Lev, who doesn't, or any musher that just doesn't want to pay all the money that's involved with running the Iditarod. You can train so many less miles, start training way later. You don't have to you can just kind of, as long as your dogs have kind of been moving around this time of year, you don't need to be going out on 20 miles runs even yet in mid-October. And the race, so you're training for just a couple months leading up to that, maybe more, and then you're done in January and you can just kind of take your dogs on fun runs. They're still going to be in great shape after that. I'm sure people might go out and do some fun excursions and stuff, but yeah, it's a great race. And then on top of that, you have to fly all your dogs to Bethel. It's off of the road system. It costs a bunch of money, but guess what? If you get last place in this race, you still make like $5,000. So you're going to be able to pay for your trip. Maybe you lose a little bit of money if you're in last place, but like it's worth people's time to go there. This has got the biggest purse of any sled dog race on the planet. When you look at it per mile, I think it's $25,000 for first place, and it's only a 300-mile race. And I mean, the Iditarod's 1,000 miles. I think 50 grand is first place. So it's worth it financially, and it's a super competitive race, and it's almost always has some pretty gnarly wind and weather, and it'll be exciting to see what the weather, how that changes the race this year, because it always changes things up. Matt Thaler, 3 second-place finishes and a win. Richie Deal, defending 2021 champ. Pete Kaiser's won it like 75 times. And so you think one of those 3 dudes will win it. But, you got Kleka's getting better and better every year she runs this. Dave Turner, Brent Sass has something to prove. And in the Cusco, so he's been running that race for a really long time, and I don't think he ever has actually gotten to win that race. He's come close a few times. So there's super, super, super competitive field. and it's a really exciting event that I'm pumped for.
Dude, no, seriously, like just hearing you talk about it, it's like it's going to be a good race, and I know that you've mentioned that in the past how it's like the best payout per mile in terms of a race. So,
oh yeah, and then the rookie Alexis something. There's a guy in there that Raymond Alexi. He's the first rookie to have entered this race. And what I was saying is that the Cusco 300 is the culmination of the mushing season, but there's events almost every weekend, weather pending, all winter long, that the community has. Some of them are 25-mile races. Some of them are 100-mile races. This guy won, Raymond Alexi, every single race that happened leading up to the Cusco, or maybe after the Cusco. He won the Bogus Creek 150. So he's got fast dogs. It'd be kind of cool to see what him as a rookie can do. He's not afraid to go for it. So there's it's just such a competitive race. It's really tough to top 10 that race, even if there's only 15 people in it.
Nice.
And then Copper Basin, I wanted to just glance at too.
Ooh, okay. Throwing me a curveball over here.
They came out with their list as well. Some names I don't recognize. Sean Williams, he's going to be. I think he's running the race this year. The Iditarod. I'm not 100% sure.
Sean Williams? No, he's not on there.
He's not. Okay. Well, Sean Williams, he was going to run it the same year. I finished in 21, and he had his mom. I'm not sure what all happened, but he had a family emergency between the ceremonial and the official start. But it's cool to see his name out there. And my buddy Matt Paveglio, who I hope to have on here before the end of the year, he's running Sean Williams' B team. He told me that. Elk Hall is Matt Hall's wife. She's getting to go out and run. I'm not sure if it's the same dog team or if it's their other dogs. But that'll be kind of cool to see. And Nick Petit, dude, people forget about Nick Petit, because he was the top of the game and winning every single mid-distance race. But I mean, he's won this race a bunch of times. And Brent Sass is in it. He looks like he's hitting it heavy with these mid-distance races. And there's a lot of names though. Anna Hennessy, she's, this is a good race to train, I think, for Iditarod. Because you have kind of every rest you take is 4 or 5 hours, which is pretty much the same rest that you're going to be taking in the big race. But it's usually the Copper Basin's considered the toughest 300 mile. They say that, it always just depends on the weather, but that race is known to have softer trails because the trails are basically created for the race and not actually traveled. Whereas in Cusco, the race goes from village to village. So whether or not there's a sled dog race, that trail's in. That's how you get from one village to another, is you're driving snow machines on those trails. And Copper Basin, they have to put in this trail and basically pack down the snow. For the event. So it tends to be softer and less firm and slower times, and more complications arise with that. And it's a very hilly race. Cusco is going to be flat. Those are the two big January races happening. Connect 200s in the works. We'll probably talk about that next time. But it's tomorrow, Brennan, shout out to my brother. It's his birthday tomorrow. I don't know when this was going to come out, but he's 30 something. And so am I. So we're the same age. But, we only got one less than 2 months until the Ace race. And then next thing you know, we're going to be at the Connect 200. And then it's pretty much a race every single weekend until the rod.
Let's go, baby. Full fucking send. I love it.
Happening.
The last thing that I wanted to bring up before we bring up the Gabe interview is Iditarod had another sign up. We had Severin Cathery from Sevi, I love it. Already
Yeah.
coming up with names. Sevi, from Airolo, Switzerland. So I try to do a little bit of work to tell you a little bit of information on him, but I was dropping the ball there. So not that I was dropping the ball, I was actually having difficulty finding stuff. So
I got you. So in 2018, I got to handle for the Yukon Quest 1000 to support my friend Alex, and Severin had participated in that race that year. He ended up making it halfway and having his dogs got a little ill, and he had to call it. But I was like, dude, when are you gonna like try to run the Iditarod, or are you gonna like come back next year? And he had like some issues with his visa, and I was like, oh, bummer. But he, I like, dude, this is 2018. It's like 5 years ago, and I only talked to him like a couple times, but like every time I talked to him, dude, he had the most like, I mean, he had me like crying of laughter. He's a hilarious dude, and has a, you gotta have to have a somewhat sick sense of humor doing some of the stuff we're doing out there. And, he certainly has that. And he's worked for Sven Haltman, who's a top 10 Iditarod finisher, who's also, I believe, from Switzerland. So he's gotten like really good mentorship over the years. And of course, he's qualified for the race. And I'm not sure whose dogs he's running. It was very like quiet. Like you look at the post and you can tell he's just made like an insane laundry list of friends. Like I think no one has ill will towards this guy because the comments are like freaking 50 comments. They're like, Sevi's back, let's go. Everybody's super stoked. And so I think it's going to be fun to hear from him. And I'll reach out to him soon, and hopefully he can, tell us his what's been going down since 2018 when she was probably, I'm not sure if he's been up here since then. So, but yeah, I'm sure I'll see him around this winter, and I'm really, really excited about it. And, there's a musher from Switzerland. You don't see, do you know any other mushers from Switzerland?
Can't say that I do.
I do.
Okay, here we go.
His name, you might recognize it, Martin Boozer.
Oh,
who's now a citizen of the United States. But yeah. So
that made number 33 on signups. Are we getting to 40?
I don't think we're getting to 40.
No,
but we might get to the upper 30s.
Upper 30s.
You still haven't seen Pete Kaiser or Richie Deal sign up yet, I don't think. Yeah, no, you haven't seen some of those names that you might see most years aren't on this list for this year. I don't know, but I definitely think we got more names. I'll tell you that. Nice.
All right. Anything that stood out to you about our time with Gabe?
Yeah. I mean, I was blown away by her childhood stories. Like, I was kind of like, what, she just clearly is super tough. And obviously every one of these people are, but she was saying some story about like how she would just go summit these mountains, and like in Valdez, the mountains are like pushing, upper like 8, 9, 10,000 foot mountains that her and her brother would be racing up. And it's just like, that'll teach you toughness, like at a young age. We have a mountain in Atlanta that's about 700 feet tall. And I remember growing up, going up that mountain, like, this is really hard. And then coming up here and being like, oh, like for people up here, that's just like a joke.
Walk in the park.
So she just had that toughness from a young age. And she looked up to Allie Circle and got to compete with her as well. And so we had a great time talking about that. And the highlight of the episode is definitely the retriever puppies, dude. Little potatoes. Are you kidding me? They're tiny little. They look like you could just stick it in like a French fry holder, McDonald's holder, and just have like the puppy in there.
And then just do a little dip and
dip the puppy into a little ketchup. I don't know. But that was fun.
Yeah. For anyone questioning if they should watch on YouTube, for the sake of seeing some beautiful little pups, I think you should. And the cat kept making an appearance. I forget her cat's name, but yeah. So we hope you guys enjoy the episode. If you haven't, please make sure you are liking, subscribing, you're following us. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. If you have anything that you want to share with us, please feel free. Get in touch with us. I also want to give a quick shout out to Debbie. Debbie got in touch with me. Debbie got in touch with me about, she must really, I don't know. Maybe I should follow up. Maybe she works at the pizza shop, or maybe she's just trying to coordinate something, but she was asking for, as we have different guests on, to ask for their favorite pizza toppings and stuff. And I would assume that's for, was that Slice of Heaven, or what is it? Piece of Heaven? What's the name of that place that you guys hit along the
Cleat place? I don't remember the name of the pizza place. All I know personally is that if I was in the Iditarod and someone ordered me pizza, I'd be super stoked. And even if it was like, even if it was like a flavor I don't like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm gonna house it.
Dude,
that's for me.
A fresh pizza, fresh one too.
If it's like not even controversial, like pineapple and bacon or whatever one that people like, oh, love it, or I'd still be eating that too. Yeah. But even if I hated it.
Frozen pizza, and it's not even a frozen pizza. It's literally a fresh fucking pizza, bro.
Dude, you get a whole one to the face, dude.
So shout out to Debbie. We'll get that list squared away for you. But someone who cares enough to ask about what all the different mushers' favorite pizzas are, I figure I'd give her a little shout out. But yeah, y'all enjoy the episode, and we'll look forward to the next one. There we go. So how old
are sled dogs?
These are not sled dogs. These are managers. These are golden retrievers. They're about 3 weeks old.
Wow.
Nice. Wow.
But I thought this would be a good place to do the interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
I fully support this.
Yeah.
And at any point, if you accidentally drop your phone into a pile of puppies, whatever.
Okay.
Is this, are these pups from, I was browsing your social media, and is this from Tika? Is that right?
Tika and Murphy. Tika. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, those are my two Goldens.
So please tell me you're going to keep all those puppies and have an army of golden retrievers constantly at your side.
No, if that's the way it works out. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be so cool.
My racing career might be over at that point, though.
That is true. Yeah, that's nice. So, how old is your original the parent retrievers?
Tika and Murphy, they're 3 and 2.
Okay, nice.
Oh, and then my oldest Golden, she passed away earlier this year, but she was 13, and she's the one that kind of got this whole thing started. I just fell in love with the breed.
Nice. Yeah, they're so friendly. And what is it? How do they manage your team? What are some of the ways that they manage?
Well, they get to be the loose dogs that go out and make sure everybody eats their kibbles, because if anything's left behind, they'll make sure it gets cleaned up. It's kind of funny. They actually go out, and if anyone's kind of grumpy, the Goldens will be like, no, you need to be nice to me. And they'll go walk through their circle and just make sure that everyone's being friendly.
It's all love, man. There's no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. But and here in Willow, because I live right up along the highway, I don't have them loose. But when I was down in Montana and Oregon, I used to free run the Goldens all the time with the team, and they really had a lot of fun with that.
Nice. That's that. Oh, okay. So you just had like your dog team hooked up and golden retrievers just running.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like kind of, I've seen this footage of Jesse Holmes with his little whatever dog that's this big.
Right. Yeah. Same thing. Mine were just bigger. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah. That's it. I want to see some. If you have videos in the archives of that, I would love to see that.
Somewhere back in the end of Facebook there, like.
Yeah.
Back a little ways.
Right on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who do we have up top there?
This is Taku. He is the Mouse Patrol, And I just got home from work, and he's a very needy cat. So he's just saying hi.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, so is there any other species you have there?
Well, I have a couple chickens and a couple ducks. Yeah. Yeah, the ducks help train the sled or the golden retrievers. So I do bird hunting with them.
Oh,
And so there's a point before you go out and do wild birds, you got to train on some other birds. So
nice.
they're there to train on.
Right on.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun little family farm you got going on.
Yeah, it is. It totally
Nice.
is. And then there's the
Go
dogs.
ahead. Oh yeah, exactly. The little potatoes that you have.
Right.
That's awesome.
So what, you have like 25 sled dogs and then racing dogs, and then you have that
Everything
what, like
else.
10?
Yeah.
How many retrievers do you have?
I have 2 retrievers and a pointer.
And then
oh, you got a pointer.
Yeah, and then I've got all of these little munchkins for the next 5.5 weeks.
okay.
So, yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're finding homes for those little ones then, huh?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Makes
it was
sense.
very much a planned breeding.
Nice. And so I feel like when we talked like a couple years ago, you were living in Oregon. Are you set? Do you have property down there still?
No, I lived in Oregon from about 2011 to 2016, 17.
Oh, okay.
It was a short stint down there. Yeah. And then from there I moved to and then I moved to Montana for a couple of years, then I moved back home. So
what's here?
Is here, Alaska. Yep.
Nice. Okay. You're born
and raised in Alaska. I was born up in Fairbanks. Grew up, we lived up there until 89, and that was Exxon. And my parents both got jobs out of Valdez, so we relocated there. And then I've just kind of held jobs all around the state, doing just about every Alaskan thing you can do.
I was growing up in Valdez. I imagine, did you like go and play in the mountains a lot?
That's all there is to do. Yeah. I had a buddy, him and I would race to the top of the mountains all the time, and it's total bushwhacking. There's no trail anywhere. And I don't know how we didn't run into bears all the time. And but yeah, he always beat me. He'd be up there by like 15 or 20 minutes before me, and we're going like way up to the summit of these mountains, just total wild. And somehow we'd find each other on the, we're going to go to the lake at the top of this mountain. Okay, let's race.
And,
that was our pastime. Yeah. I ran away when I was like 14, and we had horses, and I took my horse and another horse and packed it all up and took my dog, and I was mad. So I took off with my horses and my dog into the wild. And looking back on it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I survive?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you would make it a few weeks, or maybe even months, or maybe you could.
I came back in like, a couple days, but I was, yeah. My parents were like, yeah, she'll be back.
Was it? I'm assuming it wasn't in January.
No, it was middle of summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
I'm just like thinking of like, I don't think either of us ever ran away, but like the difference of growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna like run away and hopefully like they don't see us, but we're gonna just be in a neighborhood or something. It's not like there's anywhere really to go hide. So
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I was just going to the mountains with my horses and my dog, and I was gonna be gone.
Nice.
It's a good way to go.
So like, when was your first exposure to mushing? Was it all like at a young age, or?
Yeah. So, my first real exposure, I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and we were living in Valdez at the time, and Copper Basin was going off. And I really wanted to go up and meet Susan Butcher and Allie Zirkle and the women in mushing. And so my dad was really awesome, and he volunteered for the race. And we were not like set to be outdoor winter at all. And of course, it's like 20 below. And I know I was cold the whole time, but I was just totally enthralled with the dogs and the races. And so that was like the first time I got to actually really see up close and all of that. I didn't start touching sled dogs until I was about 15. And I had a neighbor that got into mushing, and he bought a couple pregnant females from Martin Boozer. And then that's where, I was like the teenage girl that was like, puppies. Here I am several years later. Puppies. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got thrown into mushing, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, I imagine going and seeing those quiet moments at the checkpoints and the finish line in Glen Allen, where there's not it can be a nice little crowd at the start line and stuff, but I mean, that's kind of cool. You can all those checkpoints are all on the road systems. You can drive there. And I'm assuming Valdez is not really ever 20 below. So
no, it gets windy there, like super, super windy. It'll blow all the snow away and stuff like that, but it's not usually that cold.
Yeah, that's the Brennan, the terminus of the pipeline, the oil pipeline.
Yep.
It goes from north.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. And do you have any memorable moments meeting any of the ladies of the mushing back when you were 9?
Well, Allie Zirkle let me touch all her dogs, and nice. So I think that kind of just solidified it, Yep. And then it was, I think it was maybe 2008. I ran Copper Basin. It was a long time ago. And Allie was in the race, and I was like, I'm sorry, Allie, this is going to age you and age me too. But when I was a little kid, you were my musher. It was so much fun just to be able to be like out there and share trails with people that I've really looked up to in the sport for a long time.
Yeah, we would love to get to talk to her. I think she's enjoying stepping away from the limelight after she was, for someone, considering all these people winning Iditarods, and she came so close, but she was like, there was several years where she came in second place, or 2 or 3 years, and the crowd's roar was like 20 times louder than the winner's roar. They just love Allie.
Well, Allie's such a dynamic character for like just as a personality, and I think she really built up a fan base just simply through that, but also just the perseverance. I mean, she was so close so many times. And that's kind of why she nicknamed her kennel, right? Second place kennel.
That's what the SB is? I did not. Okay.
Wow.
That's is that, when did she name it? Where in the timeline was it named SP, huh?
I don't know. I didn't follow it that close, but yeah.
Okay, nice. But she definitely got some first place too, winning the 1,000-mile Yukon Quest, and what was that, 2000? Yeah. So cool. So signed up for the big rod this year.
I did.
Nice. Was that exciting?
It was. Yeah, I kind of came home and I was like, well, I think I did 2 silly things today. I signed up for Iditarod, and that's also the day I brought home Taku, the kitten.
Nice. That's too funny. Yeah. You ran it in 2020, and the Western Night Run is this 2024 is the year next year, I believe. Yeah. I'm pretty with it. I'm in reality.
Right?
And so how was it? What's between Iditarod? You made it to the coast. Your dogs got a little under the weather. You had to end your race a little early. Between that moment and now you signed up for Iditarod. What's you ran a few races. I saw you ran the Cusco.
I did
in there. Yep. I'm very curious. I was just looking at your time. I didn't see like the intimate details of it, but holy shit, you ran like under a sub 40 Cusco in ninth place.
Yeah.
I mean, that was badass, and congratulations and all the respect to you. That's amazing.
Oh, thanks. That was a lot of fun. I know I took an extra half-hour rest, I think, in Antioch because the dogs were sleeping so well. And I was just like, they deserve that.
They got to hit the snooze button.
I probably could have pushed a little bit harder, but I was having so much fun. And that's a great race. And I definitely recommend anyone that's, willing to push themselves for 40 hours to go run that.
Yeah. And you made $6,500, which I'm assuming was enough to cover all of your annual dog costs.
No. that covered the cost for that race. So flights out to Bethel are really expensive. And so yeah, that's with all that. I think I ended up with like $50 extra at the end of the day. And I was like, all right, cool.
Get a couple burgers.
I made money.
Yeah, you're making
got a meal out of this.
Yeah, that is a great alternative to like, I did ride as financial doom, but Cusco, you can at least
especially when you get to go home early. That one hurt.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
So yeah, 3 years later, trying it out again, kind of replenished the bank account a little bit and saved up a few more pennies and going at it again.
Nice.
Yeah.
What? How's training going so far?
It's going pretty good. I'm still working full time. So just trying to balance work and training for right now is always a challenge. But the dogs are doing really good. Yeah, I've got 24 that I'm really looking at. So I've got a nice, good core group. And then there's a handful of young dogs that I'm training. Linwood decided to retire from mushing this year.
Oh.
And so he and I had split a litter. They're 2 years old now. So I had always told him if he was ever going to move those dogs on, that I wanted first dibs at them. And nice. So I have the whole litter now, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm hoping that some of them make it on the Iditarod team.
So you worked, how long did you work with Linwood Fiedler?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know that he's been in the top 10 a bunch and has been a household name for Iditarod.
Working for him in 2004. And
wow.
I was a solid handler in the wintertime, and I worked for him for 8 winters. And
Damn.
then he also had the glacier business, and so I did 5 seasons up on the glacier.
Wow. So you were with 8 winters. First thing let me just say, I've never heard of any handler. Well, I haven't done this for 8 years, but I mean, that's insane. That says a lot about you enjoying his dogs and Linwood, obviously. And obviously Linwood has to be a pretty good guy to work for 5 summers and 8 winters.
Yep.
How was like, because that was 2004, 5, 6, 7. Those were the years he was like making his name out there. How was that? I mean, you were a huge part of his success.
It was a lot of work. But I had been handling for a couple other people before. And so I had like basic dog knowledge and basic sled skills. And, I think it's not until like your 4th year that you're running that you really, really adapt to what everything needs, all the team needs, the individuals needs. And so when I came on with Linwood, he really taught me how to race, like what to actually look for. And okay, well, your dogs are, a little tired, but they're not really tired because they're up and barking in 4 hours, and these are the signs that you want to look for, and you want to rest them before they get too tired, and how do you pick those little nuance keys up and take care of those individual needs to be able to race and be competitive. And And, so I always had like 6 of my own dogs this whole time. And most of them would end up on his Iditarod team, which I was always super proud of. And then in 2011, I left to go down to Oregon for a relationship. And that's when I really was like, okay, well, I'm taking a bunch of my old dogs now, and we're just going to go putz around. And I missed mushing so much that like I started being more competitive down there, and I would enter these little 8-dog races, and I would only have like 5 or 6 dogs, and then we would win them. And I'm like, yeah, and my lead dog's 12.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, people were like getting I don't know, some people would get a little upset, and I was like, all right, maybe I'm being a little too cocky. I need to like kind of be a little more humble out here. So I think honestly, leaving taught me how to manage my team even more. And also like seeing how different people race and in different levels, because I had basically, when I stepped in, I was, at the top of the long distance team the whole time. And it was Linwood's team, but being able to be down there and helping other people learn how to bring their teams from a 15-mile run to a 100-mile run and educate them on that. Because a lot of people will never go beyond a 15-mile run with their recreational team, but then they're like, oh, I want to run 100 miles. How do I do that? And so I helped coach a few people through that, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, that's learning that wisdom directly from the dogs, not only Linwood but his dogs too, and then now you have your own wisdom and your own opinions, and you've seen the dogs do some amazing things, and you do have to, like, when you're training them, you do have to get to those signs of they're kind of tired. You got to make a push at some point, and see how they respond. You don't want to make your first push with a dog team on the Iditarod or on whatever race. So cool. So what's how's life in Willow?
It's going. It's been really busy for me. Just like I said earlier, working full time.
What's your income?
Yeah,
like
what are you curious about?
So I wish I could say my income was really, really great. My job is really awesome. I am a solar tech, so I've been working with 907 Solar for the last 2 years, and
nice.
a lot of off-grid power. So before that, I was kind of dabbling in carpentry, like throughout COVID and stuff, and because I had planned on going back to the glacier, and then that all kind of shut down, and so just kind of trying to find a little niche here. And my dad was an electrician, so he taught me a lot. And then stepping into the solar world, I've been able to bring that knowledge in with me, which has really helped.
Yeah, nice. I got a few friends that work for a solar company here in Anchorage. I don't know what their name. I don't remember. Probably like Alaska Solar or something. That's like the exact same name as yours, but not. But yeah. By the way, when I said, so what's your income, I wasn't asking how much it was your income. I was asking, what do you do to receive your income?
Stop.
He just wants the pets.
He does. He just wants attention. I can't blame him. He's been inside all day, and now he's like, "You're on the phone. Come on." Down here.
Too funny.
Yeah. So
20, like, what did you learn from your first 2020 Iditarod?
So I had an absolute blast through that whole thing. I remember seeing you in Takatna.
That was awesome.
Yeah. And I just had so much fun that I was like, I really enjoy traveling long distance with the dogs. And I learned a hard lesson. I had to go home out at Unalakleet because my team had picked up some really gnarly trail bug, basically. But I rolled into Unalakleet with 12 dogs. And I was like, yeah, I've got 12 dogs. But they had come to the end of their race. So that one was kind of, that I know you had a tough decision too out there, and you worked so hard to get to that point, and then you're like, well, time to go home. And so there's a few things I'm going to do on the vet care side to try to prevent that, just from transferring of different bugs and stuff. I know, like, a lot of us, you never use somebody else's straw or someone else's camp spot if you can help it, right? Unless it's been cleaned up. You don't use someone else's food. That's all like nuance and common knowledge. But honestly, I hate to pin it on them, but like, I really think the vets, because they touch every dog that comes into the checkpoints, they're also a vector. And so I'm just going to carry extra gloves and ask the vets to put the latex gloves on before they touch my dogs. I think it's fair and easy and simple, and they can still do all their vet checks, and they'll be like 2XL, so they can go over the top of their mittens or whatever they need to.
What do you like? What do you think is the difference between there's so many teams. This is like a subject that I feel like has come up a lot. And whether or not it's on our silly little podcast or just talking dogs with anyone, anytime. Yeah. And like, dogs get these sicknesses during the race, and it's mostly from exposure to germs from other dogs that are coming from other places. And It might not even be from other 6 dogs. It's just from dogs that have different germs. Now your dog's getting introduced to them, and they don't know. So, but then there's like, some people kind of can work their way through it. It's earlier in the race, or maybe whatever. It's what do you think is the difference between 2 teams getting sick, and one team's like, I know I'm looking at my team, I know my team, we got to call it, versus let's just do some extra rest. What are some of the variables there?
Honestly, I think it's luck of the draw at the very end of the day. I think you can do everything you possibly can to prevent it, and to also expose your dogs early enough in the season. I mean, that's a big ticket, I think, is to be able to go around to the early season races and just kind of be like, or to go train on different people's trails, different areas of the state. You're going to expose the dogs to different bugs. I think starting off with everybody being as healthy as possible, which we all try to do, that's really pivotal. Catching things as early as you possibly can. If you see a dog starting to just not be, they're not drinking as much water as they should be, something simple like that. Trying to get them more hydrated. I think all of those really, really help. So, but yeah, I mean, 2020, it was a upper respiratory infection that was just going all over the back half of the team. I don't know if you saw any of it, but I was just one of the teams, and I tried all the tricks. Like, I slowed them way down. They were being given certain supplements to try to help boost their immune system before the race even started. And once I started noticing them not feeling right, I was like, all right, we're going to add at least an extra hour at every spot that I had already picked out, and I gave them an extra camp completely just to get an extra meal into them. And they ate fine. They were sleeping good, but you can't walk away from a virus. That's really what it comes down to. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, obviously the dogs getting sick was kind of like a low point of the race, but like prior to that, I guess, although it sounds like they were sick from the get-go, like but what I want to ask is, what are some highlights from the race for you? What are some things that stood out that were really memorable for you?
Yeah. So the run into Ruby was a lot of fun for me. I had broken it down into 2 legs, so it was like 45-mile runs, and we camped in the middle. And the last 45 miles is like you're coming in on this old gold mine road, and it had snowed like probably at least a foot, maybe a little bit more. And it was getting to be very heavy, wet, dense, almost like it almost turned to rain by the time we got to Ruby. But I had Tempest and Hustle up in lead. And Tempest decided that every
Tempest,
single little,
is that from Jesse Holmes Tempest or no, a different one? Okay.
I have my own
there's
Tempest.
You got your own Tempest. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've had her since she was a pup. So
Nice.
she decided every little bump on that road was a ptarmigan because the first one she flushed up. And then so the whole 45 miles, she was just popping little they just looked like snowballs that had been covered up, but they were ptarmigan that laid down on the trail. And we were the first team through all that, so we were breaking it out, and it was just a total blast. And that was a really fun run. And then the run into Caltag also was a lot of fun for me. The Northern Lights came out. I was traveling with my friend Fabio. We had to help this native guy. He had his snow machine, he had gone down on this little river slough, and it had gotten caught up in the shelf ice on the way up, so it had flipped over. So it was like the worst place you could ever park two different dog teams. And here we are trying to haul this guy's snow machine out for him. And we got it out. He got up on the bank, and then we helped each other get our teams around that shelf ice. And yeah, it was just, there's a lot of memorable moments out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about some of the like more notorious different spots? Where did they live up to their notoriety, or was there any of those points of the race stand out to you?
So there's this like iconic picture of Rainy Pass. It's got the cathedral of mountains around you, and there's the sign that says the elevation, right? Like it's such an iconic picture. I never saw any of that. It was blowing like 40, 45.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember going, man, I wish I would have put my snow goggles on before I left, but they were so tucked down in my sled. I was like, yeah, I'll just deal with it. And we went over the pass. We lost the trail once. I had one of my old lead dogs up there named Weasel. She's 11 now. She found the trail again. We kept going. The team had a total blast in that windstorm. They were screaming and they're so excited. And I'm like, okay, then let's go. And we went through the gorge. That year we had lots of snow, not a problem at all. And then when we went through the steps, that was kind of funny. I again had my dog Tempest in lead. She's one of my main leaders, so I threw her up there. And there's a really hard turn that goes off to the right. I think it's the second step. And you have to swing your sled wide around it because it's a big rock. Well, Tempest jumped up on it and just swan dived off the top. And I was like, I guess we're here.
Oh, geez. Tempest sounds like she's got some serious personality.
Oh, yeah. She's a ham. So, like there's some pretty cool spots. I think I struggled the most when I hit the Yukon just because I was tired. That's where I physically was like, oh my gosh, I can't hardly keep my eyes open. And, but that was my struggle. The dogs looked great through the whole thing.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's for you traveled 700 miles with a dog team. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and most of them, over half that team, they were only like 18 months old. So they were a really young crew.
Damn.
And we had a really successful year. So that year, I had put a course record at Eagle Cap, the 200-mile race. And then we went and ran Race to the Sky. And we took second in that. And then I loaded everything up literally at the parking lot at Race to the Sky and came up to do my drop bags up here. So I had 3 days of travel and 3 days to do my drop bags. Damn. And I don't recommend that for most people.
That sounds like you just basically had an Iditarod sleep schedule for those few days.
Yeah, but that was insane. A lot of fun. To me, it was a really successful season, even though our finale, which was Iditarod, didn't end the way that I wanted it to. But I made it to the coast with a fairly young team, and this year we're going to make it under the Burled Arch.
Right on.
Yeah.
And that's is that your goal this year? Is
this what you're talking about? By the way, I think I found it.
No,
that's just a lodge. No, there's like a little tiny sign that says Rainy Pass, and it's like a little like trailhead sign kind of thing.
Oh,
yeah, it just says like the elevation, but yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but it's just kind of like this. That's what I hope I get to see something like that this year. You know, to see the mountain pass that you get to go through. That'd be great.
Yeah, that first year I believe it was nighttime, and it was windy, but I thought for my run at least it was I could see because it was clear and windy, and it was probably right before the clouds rolled in or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I was like, damn, so the coast is going to be like this. I'm a little scared, and sure enough, it was.
Yeah, it was so windy I could see the wheel dogs and the dogs right in front of wheel, and that was about it. It was just blowing snow around so much that I was like, all right. And that's Jim Lanier. I know he left right behind me because I saw his headlamp like half mile back, and I never saw him, and he got lost up there somewhere. And Dee Dee came into Roan, and she's like, where's Jim? And everyone's like, oh, he's right behind Gabe. And I'm like, I never saw him.
Damn.
So, yeah.
So you know, I was going to say, so what's on the docket for this season in terms of some of the races leading up to the Iditarod?
Yeah. So I just signed up for the Ace race, which is a fun little run out to Alpine Creek Lodge. And so that's kind of early season that starts December 9th. And I like signing up for races like early season races to expose the dogs, but also it gives you nice little benchmarks to kind of hold yourself to, goals.
You're right.
And then I'll be heading out to Cusco again and seeing if I can shave off just a little more time. And then we'll see what happens between that and Iditarod. Iditarod is the big focus, so I don't want to compromise the team at all by entering another race if I feel that's going to happen. If the dogs are firing off on all the cylinders and just like chomping on the trail, then I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll enter a race. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was wondering what is your do you have like a mileage goal? Like besides like your checkpoints, do you I don't know, does it like some people like to do 2,000 or 4,000, or it's just like, I don't know how many miles we're going to do, but we'll just run today and then we'll run them tomorrow and they'll add up eventually.
Yeah, so I have a pretty rigorous run schedule that I haven't actually put down on a calendar yet. That's kind of my job this weekend to do. But it's all up in here. So
Steel trap.
Yeah, exactly. And best laid plans of mice and men. You try setting them up for the most success that you can. So I will try to do more repetitive runs more so than really, really long runs.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of the trend of training and mushing. It seems to there's less long runs in training, and you just kind of save them for when you need them in an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good for the dogs, especially since I have a fairly young crew again. I've got a handful of 2-year-olds coming up. Those guys need to see they need to work up to that 10 or 12-hour run, and they need to see it a couple times before they're expected to do it, so they can understand how it feels and that they're okay and that, everything's going to end up great. And I want tails wagging at the end of that. And so I think it's only fair to, especially the young ones, to be able to go through that a couple times before you ask of it in a race. And like Cusco, that's a lot of long runs with very little rest. And okay, you're going to rest at the end because it's going to be so fast. We're just going to get through it, and then we're all going to sleep.
Right.
So.
40 hours, 300 miles.
Yeah.
That's just, world-class athletes right there, man.
Impressive.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And
you're clearly like, your mid-distance resume is fierce. We Googled your, I just Googled your name, like, all right, let me see what the internet says about Gabe. And there's some website that was like, said the race to the sky, the Idaho sled dog challenge,
challenge. Yep.
What's the other
one? There was a trio one.
Yeah, so it's called the Rocky Mountain Triple Crown. And to date, to my knowledge, I'm the only female that has been able to complete it, and I finished it in second place. Which I'm pretty proud of.
What does it consist of?
So you do the Eagle Cap Extreme, the 200, and that's more like a 220. And the big thing with all of these races that I don't think most Alaskans really understand is that you're doing massive mountains. Like Eagle Cap is almost 30,000 vertical feet of relief. And so you do that.
What does that mean? 30,000 vertical feet of relief, just because I'm asking for a friend. I know what it means, but Brandon totally doesn't.
I'm over here pretending like I know what that means.
I actually don't know what it means either.
You're running a trail that has 30,000 vertical feet of change. So you're going
up and down.
You're climbing up almost 30,000 feet, and you're also descending that. So it's all in steps, because you're doing a mountain range. So those mountains might only be 2,000 or 3,000 feet, but you're climbing those and then you're coming down them over the course of that race. Damn. So I did Eagle Cap, and then that year I came in second, I believe. I had the banquet the following night, and I had 1 day of travel to be able to get over to Idaho Sled Dog Challenge.
Eagle Cap is in what state?
Eagle Cap is in Joseph, Oregon. And it's almost a 300-mile drive. I did not make the whole drive in one stint because I was so tired. I actually pulled over on this snowy pass, and I'm like, I'm too tired. And I pull over and I fell asleep for just a couple hours and woke back up. And I'm like, all right, but you drive over towards Caldwell, Idaho. And when I ran that, it was a 350-mile race, and they were saying that it's 64,000 vertical feet on that race. And then I had about a week between there and Race to the Sky. So I was able to go, I was living in Montana at the time, so I was able to go back to the Bitterroot Valley, kind of reset, resupply, and then get up to the Race to the Sky in Lincoln. Yeah.
Wow.
So, what year was that? That is also another 30,000 vertical feet ish.
Sure. I mean, that's at that point, that's completely nothing at all.
You're racing. I was not a super fast team, but my team was really strong. And so we were just really consistent. But if we were on the flats, man, every team would fly by us.
Nice. You guys excel on the hills. What year? So what year did you do this?
So that should be 2018, 2019, 2019. 2018 is when I did that. So that was my technical qualifiers for Iditarod.
All in 9 days?
19 days. Yeah.
19 days. Jesus.
Yeah. And I did that on purpose. I wanted to push my team, and I wanted to push myself in a manner that was similar to Iditarod. And that was the closest I could come to replicating it down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
wow. Those trails are they sound, you just don't get hills that are like that in the Iditarod.
It would be like if you were always in the steps. Really. If you were always running in the steps, that's what it's like. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear your report from the coastal hills there, because those things are I can't express to you how knowledgeless my Iditarod trail knowledge was. Just I was like, all right, next one's 50 miles. Sounds good. I'm camping after that,
Right?
And I'd get to, I'm like, it's the coast. It's the fucking
so
beach.
you were
dude.
like,
you know,
just kind of the right person in the right place at the right time for someone else's wrong, bad time. So yeah.
No, I definitely just was dreaming of it being like windy and flat.
Yeah.
And then it's just like actually every single run except for the sea ice one.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm excited.
Going up to like Chattanooga and running up there. Those mountains are great to run in. I don't know if you ever did that, but
no, where are they?
Chattanooga's north of Fairbanks, so that's kind of where Dan Caduce.
Is that like the White Mountains or whatever?
I think it's the base of them. Yeah. So, but those trails are really awesome and tough. I mean, there's a reason like Lance Mackey was a fierce competitor, especially when he moved up there. His team got great training, and Dan's a great musher, and he's up kind of that way. And there's what the training you have access to is,
not everything, but
it's a lot.
It's a lot. And that's why, Willow's a great place to be because you have several hundred, maybe more. I mean, you literally could just connect to the Iditarod Trail. So you have just infinite miles available, people out there, that you can communicate with about conditions and keep the trail maintained. And then when you want to go and get some hills in, you're on the road system, you can drive. And there are hills in Willow too, it seems flat, but it actually is kind of hilly.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
So I usually keep one trail in that it goes up to about just shy of 3,000 feet. And so we'll climb that. And then the first time I ran it, I was like, oh God, I got to come down this.
Yeah, that's way scarier.
Oh my gosh. And then after like 10 times of running it, the dogs kind of learn to back off. And they're like, oh, we're just going down the same hill.
You tell me not to pull as hard as I can at 29 miles an hour down this mountain.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, for some reason that sled behind me, it just looks like it's getting a little closer.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So one thing that is apparent to me just in hearing you guys kind of exchange conversation is that, it sounds like you guys have like your friends. And I'm just curious, Gabe, what is like your first recollection of like what were the circumstances around when you first met Sean?
So I don't recall if we had met prior to Iditarod.
I think we connected at some point we had connected that we both worked for Rachel down in before Iditarod, I think. But
yeah. And so like it's pretty cool when you have those prior connections and everything and kind of instantly relate with someone. But so all I had really known was Sean was working for Jeff, and Jeff ended up in the hospital, and Sean got to run his Iditarod team. And I was like, holy cow, that's pretty awesome, but also really hard if you haven't been the main person behind a team. Like, and I didn't know if you had been or not. But anyone that's been around mushing long enough, they know like you can substitute one or two dogs in a team, and they usually fall into, this is the new place where that I'm going to run for a while. But it's really challenging to be able to go out there and, like I know how much my dog needs to snack on a 100-mile run and to keep their weight up and keep their happiness up and just, all of that. And if you don't know those dogs like the back of your hand, then that's such a challenge. And then I was also kind of envious because I was like, man, that'd be pretty cool to run Jeff's team. So it was like all the recognition there. And Sean did great out there. He always had a big smile on his face, and the dogs were all taken care of. And I don't think I saw too much of you until like Takatna. And I remember rolling in and you had gotten there and you were pulling harnesses off and putting blankets over the dogs. And I had stopped an extra 4 hours in McGrath and given my dogs an extra nap and an extra meal. And there was a family there that wanted to say hi to the dogs. So I stayed a little extra long and I was like, yeah, go ahead, pet the dogs. All right, let's go. And so we came into Takatna like with a lot of fuel and energy. And I'm like, nope, 24.
Nice.
And yeah, so I don't know if that'll answer your question or if I'm just rambling at this point, but
No.
I can tell you
mean,
my version of the story.
yeah, let's hear your side, dude.
yeah.
My version of the story was I was like, you know, I like you said, I'd never really, I mean, I train these dogs, and I think in some ways that I was more intimately training the dogs than like Jeff day to day. But then like he would take them out on like the long trips, and that's like the important part when you're seeing them like get a little tired, and seeing those changes when you hit mile 200 and mile 300 or even just mile 150 or whatever. Yeah. So I didn't see a ton of that, but then he'd bring them home and I'd see, just a few hours later or whatever. So I had a good idea, but yeah, I was getting to that point where it's like, the dogs, they ran 100 miles that day times, 50 times 2 or whatever. And then they do it the next day, and they do it the next day. And you're like, you're just seeing them run all this much. And I'm just like, I haven't seen this. This is crazy. Like, you're telling me we got like 600 more of these miles going on right now, So I just needed like a little bit of this is it. Like, they could do this, right? And they were like doing totally fine. But I was just like, like I just, and everybody else has just been doing this. Everyone around me had been doing it for so long. And they're like, dude, Sean, what are you talking about? Like, you have Jeff's dogs. Like, what are you doing? And then, but yeah, you just humored me for like a few minutes. Like, dude, your dogs look fine. It's okay if they weren't all eating like every single of the like 12 meals I was trying to feed them during the 24 hours.
Right.
And, but yeah, so you talked me down off a ledge at some point, and then I remember we were sitting down having a burger, pie, or whatever inside. And then Sebastian Schnull sat down next to us, and he was just like, yeah, how's it going to us? I said, it's going well. And he's like, and I expressed whatever was on my mind that was, not perfect. I was still just like, I don't know, like if we're going to be able to do this, So that energy is what Sebastian was reacting to. And he's like, dude, there's nothing like running your first time, man. You'll never get to do it again. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, did you run the Iditarod or something? And then I turned to you and you're like, dude, you don't know who that is? Like, that's Sebastian Schnull, Yukon Quest champ. And second place Iditarod. Like, and I was like, no, I've never seen this guy. Who's this guy? And I was like, I'm sorry, Sebastian, I should have known who you were. And he was like, oh, it's all good, dude. I don't care.
He probably loved it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, I've been around this sport since I was so young, and I've, watched people and their races and their careers, and now I'm part of it. But it's a lot of fun also to have the newer people, like when you were there and you didn't know who they were. You're just like, yeah, I'm here for the ride. This is great.
Yeah, I didn't know anyone, and I was like so nervous to like the social aspects of mushing, like I remember being in Takatna and I have like all this time and I'm like, I know I should be sleeping, but I'd just be like sitting in there like I'm still eating my burger, but I'm really not. I just want Richie Deal to sit down next to me and me be like, what up, bro? I'm in the Iditarod too. Me and you, right?
Yeah, I think it was in Takatna where Ryan and I were having like a really serious conversation about the future of our tourism. Because, that at that point, COVID was starting to shut down things. And so he's like, do you think we're even going to have a season? And I was so naive at that point. I was like, yeah, it's just going to start in July. Like, it's going to be just a partial season, but we'll get something and it'll be fine. Little did I know, 2 years later, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird thing being on the trail as you're like getting tidbits of news and like at some point the volunteers and they're trying to like hide it. And
they were,
and I was like, it's like, how bad is it? And I remember this guy told me, he's like, dude, the NBA was canceled. And I was like, no way, dude, the world is over.
I think my favorite part was, and I can't remember, maybe I was in McGrath But one of the pilots came in and there's no toilet paper in Fairbanks. And I'm thinking, oh, the barge is late or whatever. Like, whatever, right? It'll be there tomorrow. But he was so serious and so upset about it. And then I was like, yep, I got to roll in my sled. I'm good.
That's insane. I don't know if I'm missing some key information, but like the fact that like the average citizen hears that the world's ending and they're like, I got to buy toilet paper in massive quantities. Like,
right?
What is that? Why is that's going to be what saves you from the apocalypse, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, it's one of those things I'll never forget, you know?
Yeah. What a unique, like that specific year, like where things were in the world at the start of the race, and then where things were at the end of that race in just that short amount of time. Like so much changed. I remember like me and like the family down here in Georgia, we were trying to get to Nome to get to the finish line. And it was like this, like, do we go? Do we not go? And, you know, like it came down to the wire. I was like, I gotta be there, you know? And then finally it was like, all right, I guess I'm not going. Like this really sucks. So, gosh, just like, it's funny to hear all three of our different perspectives on that.
Yeah.
So, all right. I have a question. I wanted to just circle back around. You were talking about training. You didn't give away too much of the, like, you know, the formula that you've got concocted going.
Can't be giving away all the how the
listen, that's fine. That's fine.
Man, come on now. You kidding me? They were talking about Rocky Mountain Trio.
You run
dude.
more, you sleep less. That's all.
No, but I was wondering, like, in terms of training, are you doing most of that by yourself? Do you have like some help going on, or what's that like for you?
Last year, I was completely. I didn't have any extra help. I did everything alone. Up to now has been completely me. But this year, I am bringing on a friend that's going to help me train, and he has some dog mushing experience, but never in like such a competitive fashion. And so he's really excited to basically step up his game to learn how to be more competitive. And I'm really hopeful that like, we're going to have a great fun season, but I hope he really enjoys, you know, having to run more and longer, and because it does get pretty grueling. And I know Sean knows the hours that you put into it. And so I'll be going down to just part-time work so that way I can focus more on the sled dogs and being able to be as competitive as possible. And
when do you start that? When do you go to part-time?
So I told him today it was going to be November 1st.
Okay.
So
next month.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so I'm taking 1 day a week off for the rest of this month. And then, and that basically I can do runs after, like late at night after work, you know, and, this time of year, I don't know how much other people do. Everyone has a formula that seems to work for them, but, my dog's pretty much sat all summer. And so it's just getting them back into conditioning and into the motion of it, starting to build up some miles, and they need as much rest with that as well, because their muscles are being rebuilt and they need that rest. So I usually run like an every other day schedule, but if I go out there and everyone's like, oh, wow, yesterday was a tough run or the day before was a tough run, I'll vary my miles according to what I'm seeing out of them too. And so maybe I'll only do, you know, a short 6-mile run because they're just like, maybe they are tired because they're building muscle. And then, okay, well, the next run's going to be a nice long one. And so I kind of try to balance that. And I've got my team broken down into 2 teams right now of 25 dogs that are running. So it's a 12 dog and a 13 dog team. And basically I run a team every single night. So yeah, that's my life.
That's what's up next, I guess, after this.
And So we've been trying to get into a better habit of highlighting some of your athletes.
Yes.
Some of the dogs. And so I know at the front of this, we kind of talked about the Goldens and the little pups. Right. But from a race standpoint, from those dogs, do you have any one that you want to highlight and talk about? Give us a little story or something.
So Star is definitely my little all-star in the team. She's super, super dynamic. Just always there. Her mom, she's actually third generation. Okay. I bought a dog named Jan from Lance Mackey before Lance started winning. And Jan was this incredible lead dog. Linwood took him on 6 Iditarods, just like absolutely amazing as he developed. He was the one that was in lead when I won the little 8-dog race at 12 years old. Yeah, just I used to tell people if he was a man, I would have married him. I loved my lead dog. And so he and my other dog had 2 puppies. That was it. So that was Foxy and Weasel. And Foxy's now the matriarch of most of my dogs. Pretty much if they're black, they're out of her. And Star was out of her first litter. So I was never in a position to really push Foxy too hard. So I never saw her full potential of what she could have been as a dog. But I knew she had a ton of potential. So I was like, all right, you're going to be the mama dog. And Star, when she was a yearling, super timid girl. She was kind of petite. I almost sold her because I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to like really fit in with what my goals and career are really going to wrap around. But I'm going to give you a full season and I'm going to have you run next to Weasel, who's like one of my most hard-headed lead dogs I've ever had. And so every run she'd run next to Weasel. And over that year, she just developed into this incredibly strong, smart lead dog. And she was my finish leader in Cusco. And I don't know if it's really fun to watch the tracker, Sean, if you haven't watched that on like super speed, because on the way home, so the last leg out of Tulisac to the finish, I was having all kinds of what I felt was leader problems until I put Star up in lead. And then all of a sudden you'll see the tracker bump up to like 12.5 miles an hour. And we're just zooming to the finish. And I was like, wow. Okay, we're going to go.
That's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah. But she's just like, if I need somebody in a tough spot, she'll do it. I can take her out in open fields and gee and haw her any direction, and she tries her hardest with me, and I think that's such a wonderful bond and connection. She trusts me that I'm leading her to a trail or I'm asking her to go someplace on purpose. And yeah, so she gets a lot of inside time too, because she's an extra privileged lead dog.
Yeah. Nice. And how old is Star now?
She's 6.
6. Okay.
Yep.
See her out there this year.
Oh yeah. 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 She'll probably be up in lead at the start. So especially downtown.
One thing we didn't ask at the front of this is we're rolling up on about an hour and we want to be respectful of your time. I had a few more questions, but I also wanted to see where you guys are at, where you're at.
Yeah, ask away. I'm not pressured.
Cool. Take the reins, Sean.
I was thinking about, I should ask everybody this, but like, I feel like if mushing, one of the first things mushing and working with sled dogs taught me is just like, a very simple thing of encouraging good behavior and discouraging bad behavior, and
yeah,
I just like, what if you could tell like one bit of advice to like a regular dog owner on being a good dog owner, what would you say?
Gosh, I guess the first thing that comes into mind is that praise and discipline are not equal. So when you ask them to sit and they don't sit and you push them down and sit, right? Like that's your pet dog. You're training them to sit. And then when they do, oh, good dog, or a biscuit, or however you praise them, the praise honestly should be like 10 times to 50 times more than that discipline. And so, because they're seeking that approval from you. And I think that's so important. And I know there's a lot of people that see my dog team and they're like, they're kind of rowdy. And I'm like, yeah, there's one rule in my team. You're not allowed to chew. You can't chew on each other. You can't chew on my gear. Just no chewing. You know? And and outside of that, they love what they do, and we should praise that out of, like, imagine for you, if, okay, you got a new job and you messed up on something and someone explains, okay, well, that's what went wrong. Right. And then you do it the next time and, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm shooting for. You're going to be like, yeah, I did that.
Like, Sean, you are such a good boy, Sean.
Yeah. You don't need to go crazy, but like we have a little more cognitive than the dogs do, but like.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's a really good point. And I never really had heard that verbalized. Like, I think that I did that instinctively, like, especially with puppies, and they're like, and you're trying to get them to like come to you. And it's like, I'm like, hey, come here. And they're like, yeah, okay, buddy. Then I'm
then you're like, come here. They're like, you're all crazy. And they're like, that's crazy.
They come here and then I pet them. We're the biggest pet they could ever get.
Yep.
And then they end up being dogs that stick around and come back when I call their name. So that makes a lot of sense. That's good advice. That was my question, Brennan.
Nice. So where's your head at going into this year's Iditarod is kind of one thing that, like, I guess, I mean, from like, you kind of talked about like being competitive and so like where are you, like, realistically, where are you thinking you, like, do you have a goal in mind? Is it you want to finish it, or is it, do you have like a place in mind, or
So there's part of me that has this extreme anxiety that it's going to be a repeat of 2020, right? Where like my team gets sick and then I go home early, but I can guarantee you when I leave Unocleat, I'm going to be dancing. And I'm just going to be like, we're getting it.
Nice.
So that's kind of like in the back of my head, but I think that's common whenever like you're an athlete and you have some form of what you see as failure, and overcoming that. And that's there. But I hope to be as competitive as I possibly can be. I know that I'm going to make some, basically, if this is my first time, I hope to finish. Last time I wanted to finish too, but we'll see. You're still, like Fabio said, you're rookie till you finish. There's quite a bit of that trail I haven't seen yet. And I've heard stories and I have great mentors that have really walked me through every little piece of it, but I've not been out there and I haven't seen it with my own eyes. And that's going to be a little bit of a hurdle. I have a ton of faith in my dog team. And I know that they have a lot of faith in me, and I think that's going to play out pretty well out there. So, as far as like where I think I'm going to place, stacking up against who signed up so far, that's kind of hard to say. There's been a lot of kind of shuffling of people's dogs over the last couple of years to different competitors too. And so, I mean, you have this like idea like, oh yeah, like a friend of mine's like, you're going to win it. And I'm like, yeah, probably not. But if I could be in a top 15, that'd be pretty badass.
Okay.
Sure would be. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a like the field this year and last year, it's like small and ultra competitive. So it's like, right. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
It's really weird to be able to like, okay, well, I know I could into the 300-mile races, I'm pretty sure I can beat these teams. but when you put it over 1,000 miles, now your dynamics change. And sometimes like a team that you would walk away from, like they do really good on those 1,000-mile runs because they've stacked up enough rest early on that now they're like, holding their speed through the whole race, or they play their hand right. So hopefully I've got a few cards up my sleeve that I can play. We'll find out.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your thought on like some of the people that are at the top of the pack? Like in terms of who you might think is a favorite. I mean, obviously Ryan won. You've got Brent. You've got Dallas is back. I'm just curious to hear. Like Sean and I can go back and forth and speculate and BS on this, right. But I'm curious what you as a musher who's going to be in it thinks of that competition as well.
I love a tight game. Like, when basketball comes down to like one shot. So I really think that this year is going to be pretty tight. You've got Pete, you've got Ryan. I think after Ryan's win, he's got a lot of confidence and he's going to push really hard to try to be up there and stay up there. Brent has always thrown down a super competitive race. And so like, he's a force to reckon with. You've got Dallas, who's just outstanding in, his career. So yeah, it's going to be hard to be in a top 5 for sure for anybody. There's always, the chance that they start racing each other, and in that race, they kind of, they push too hard, and that opens up a gap for someone, to fill in. It's going to be a super competitive front end, I think.
And it's really like, it's not, in my opinion, it's like there's a couple of dog teams that have some insane levels of experience, but I don't know. I think that's ultimately like you make a decision like, this is, I think where I'm going to 24. And that usually is a huge, like you screwed that one up or you didn't.
Right.
And then, like making those decisions that you can't, like, you don't have the omniscience to be like, oh, this is the right choice. So you just make
that's why it's a dog race, right?
And
like,
that's,
you try so hard to make it right. And you're like, okay, well, I've got to figure out something different. Like the first, when people started taking the 24 in McGrath, and that was like, oh, wow, okay, we're doing it there. And then all of a sudden those teams consistently started being in the top, front end. And it still seems like if you 24 somewhere between McGrath to Ophir, that's kind of the sweet spot. But who knows? Like someone may pull a total wild card out of their sleeve and 24 somewhere else, and like, boom, that's the new standard because it worked, Yeah. So I think the big thing is just to, we all try our best to get the team trained up to how we want the race to fall out. We want the race to run at a certain speed. We want to be able to run our dogs a certain distance with a certain amount of rest. And that's how you want to train. And if you're consistent in that, then hopefully you come out with the most consistent team in Iditarod, and all of a sudden now you've got that, top 10 team or whatever it is. And it just, sometimes it's just luck, the way the cards played out.
There's always like, some luck involved,
I got a little tailwind and I got up here. Yeah.
Those tailwinds, they don't happen often, but when they do, oh yeah.
Oh, it's sweet when they do. You're just like, oh, what? Like,
well, you don't know they're like when I crossed the Norton Sound, I didn't even.
He didn't know it. He's like, wait, where's Jeff? Where's Allie?
Oh God,
that was luck on Dallas's side. Bad luck for Jeff and Allie, but like,
that's so crazy.
So sometimes that happens.
Win the Iditarod and think you're in third place. That's so crazy,
right? Yeah.
No, I was saying when I was on the Norton Sound or whatever, I I didn't realize I had a literal tailwind, and I like stopped my team for the first time after like a couple hours. Got off, and I was like, oh, sick. It's going the right direction. All right. Didn't know.
Yep.
Well, Sean, I don't know if you had any more questions. I feel like we covered a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. I think we're super grateful that you gave us an hour of your time, Gabe, and we'll chat with you a little bit after we've stopped recording. But that was really fun, and I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. This has been fun. Definitely.
I also wanted to give you an opportunity to just kind of promote yourself a little bit. I did think I saw, if people want to, if they want to give you some money for your Iditarod, you have a GoFundMe. I think it's become part of Team Evermore Adventures. Did I get that right?
Yep. Yeah. So I've got that. I also do a sponsored dog program, and you can get some really cool Evermore team gear. And then other sponsor programs that are a little bit bigger. I do have some contacts. You can get me on Facebook, or my email spells explorethemountains@gmail.com. Just drop the initial E on explore, so it starts with an X. And yeah. So I got lots of room for advertisement on my truck and my sled. So yeah, I'd love to help promote other businesses if they want to help sponsor me. And I've done programs where I do a lot of school talks. So I'll go in and talk with different schools around the state and kind of promote the sport itself and introduce kids to the dogs. It was such an inspirational moment for me. I think that it's important that, other kids get exposed to just different ideas too. Not just mushing, but if other people do it with their sport, I think it's pretty cool. And then for different businesses, I've brought, Tempest in and just had meet a musher and a sled dog day at their business. And I think it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and